Clover.
Who doesn't love some good old-fashioned beat-em-ups? We have games such as Platinum's Bayonetta 1 and 2, The Wonderful 101, Clover Studios' Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2, and also Capcom's Devil May Cry. All these games have one thing in common. These are some of the finest pieces of work by none other than Hideki Kamiya himself. The man has worked on several iconic games, and his library of games is no joke. He has a passion for what he does, and it clearly shows. I want to talk about a certain game of Kamiya's, one that doesn't seem to get much recognition from people. And of course, talking about Viewtiful Joe, and for that, we gotta go to the past, way back. Devil May Cry. Originally supposed to be Resident Evil 4, the game was turned to be its own independent thing. This, I personally feel that while Resident Evil 2 put Kamiya on the radar, Devil May Cry initially just kinda launched him into the stratosphere. Look at that. There he is, just leaning down on us with his shiny little head. Bless him. The game is very well known amongst the gaming community. However, I want to talk about a lesser known title by Kamiya, Viewtiful Joe.
Who? Me?
Yes, you, Joe. If you want to talk about one of Kamiya's more interesting games, I personally think Viewtiful Joe is a must-play. While Dante has his charismatic and cocky personality, Bayonetta has her sweet and sexy charm, Viewtiful Joe is a more stylish and, of course, beautiful character. He's a laid-back, easy-going flick-watching dude. He's an incredibly colorful character both literally and metaphorically. His laid-back attitude has him having some quick chat with each boss fight before you end up having to fight.
Yo, man, what's up? What can I do for you, kiddo? I guess you heard I rule the roost around here. Am I right? Huh?
Oh man, don't flatter yourself. You're just another one of those old attractions in this movie land.
What? Wait a minute, Jet. You mean to tell me you knew this world was called Movie Land?
Which honestly, it adds a lot of charm in the game, and you find yourself wanting Joe to interact with these characters a lot more throughout each episode. So how about I tell you how this whole game ends up starting? Joe and his girlfriend Sylvia are at the movies watching the latest Captain Blue movie. Sylvia is obviously bored with the flick and instead wants to get kinda down and dirty with Joe. Joe, however, just wants to watch the flick, and before you know it, one of the giant robots on screen addresses the couple and reaches into the movie theater to grab Sylvia. Joe gets sucked into the movie as well, and before you know it, you start out the first of 7 episodes in the game in Movie Land. Exciting, I know. Now, how about we go on ahead and talk about some gameplay? Now, considering that this all takes place inside a movie, a bunch of your abilities are going to be related to movie effects, which is kinda cool in my opinion. Kinda adds its own little charm to it. You got your slow-mo effect, your fast effect, and lastly, your zoom ability. Slow-mo allows you to deal even more damage than you would in real time. Fast mode allows you to unleash a flurry of punches, and zoom leaves your enemies stunned and vulnerable to attacks. Being able to combine all of these abilities can lead to a bunch of creative moves and techniques, some of which can help you take bosses down rather easily. On top of your abilities, you are able to purchase new moves for Joe after completing a certain section of each episode. You got a nice plethora of moves to mess around with, and it's really just satisfying finding a new technique that works for you and against certain baddies. Since I'm already talking about the gameplay, I should go on ahead and state this. This game is really fucking hard. You have a choice of 3 difficulties on the PS2 version: Sweet, which is probably your extremely easy difficulty, Kids, which is easy, and Adult, which is normal. I went ahead and tried tackling the game on the Adult difficulty, but I ended up getting my ass kicked several times, so I went ahead and just bumped it down to easy for the sake of this review. Like seriously, if you aren't up for a challenge or haven't played any Devil May Cry games, you're gonna end up having a really hard time trying to get into this. Like, there are several levels where the combat isn't even an issue, it's the platforming that can be really painful, especially in episodes 3 and 5. Some of these platforming sections can just be a bit tedious and annoying to overcome. While it does give you a break from all the combat, it can sometimes just make you go, oh boy, another platforming section, here we go again, I don't like this. While all of it isn't really bad, it isn't my favorite part of the game. You end up having to utilize the slow-mo and fast mode a lot to bring down and raise floating platforms. You especially have to be careful with the fast mode, since your movement is super sensitive, you can sometimes just fall and you will just fall and fall and fall. You just lose so much progress, and it's just annoying, and I'm getting flashbacks. I don't like this section of the game. The whole movie aesthetic to this game really helps it separate itself from other games, and the cell shading makes everything just kind of pop. Take the second episode for example. The colors make the city feel alive, even though there isn't much going on. The fact that some of the enemies change appearance depending on the stage you're on really shows that they cared a lot about the design of the characters and just the level in general. It makes each stage feel as distinct as possible. Let me give you another example. These people really did care about crafting Beautiful Joe. One of the unlockables you can get is a music video that they made with the in-game character models. They didn't have to do this, it's just kind of there. I mean, you can watch it, it's cheesy, it's fun, I think. What also helps bring life to this world is the amazing soundtrack you hear. Each song helps bring even more personality to each of the stages and allows you to engulf yourself in this world. You'll find yourself kind of bobbing your head to some of these soundtracks. Here are some of my personal favorites. Each episode has its own boss that relates to the theme of the level, so fair warning, I'll go on ahead and just spoil a little bit of the game, but I'm not going to go on ahead and talk about the end game as much. If you want to play the game yourself, I'm going to leave some Amazon links in the description. I'm not affiliate, I just think this game deserves a lot more love and recognition. Upon reaching the final area of each episode, you'll be confronted by the main baddie of the level, and boy, at first, I guarantee you might end up getting your ass kicked. These bosses don't mess around on your first run-in with them. It's not uncommon for you to lose a couple of times before you figure them out and figure out which moves are most effective for them. P.S. Just a little tip from me, using slow-mo and zoom at the same time will do an incredible amount of damage per hit. So just kind of use that whenever you get the chance. Let's see, your main bosses go as follow. First up you have the Dark Fiend, Charles III, the Iron Ogre, Hulk Davison, the Aquatic Terror, Grand Bruce, another Joe who turns out to be Blade Master Alistair, a rival to Joe, the Infernal Lord Fire Leo, and lastly, the Omnipotent King Blue. All of these guys have their own strategy to them, so even though it may come across as daunting facing them for the first time, keep going at it and you'll soon realize that they aren't as difficult as they seem. They end up kind of being pushovers. A complaint I have with this game is that they do the whole boss gauntlet thing that Capcom likes to do with the Mega Man franchise. To me, it wasn't really necessary, and I kind of just felt like they were trying to add padding to the game to extend it for another like 30-40 minutes. It didn't seem all too interesting to me, and I would instead preferred another level like the ones prior, but I guess that's just me. Maybe some people will enjoy it, I personally didn't. Let's go ahead and talk about the VFX bar. That little bar that's displayed overhead will essentially let you know how long you can use your slow-mo ability, your fast ability, your zoom-in ability for, as it'll go down over a period of time. If it reaches 0, then you're just going to end up being Standard Joe, which you don't want to do because sometimes it'll leave you in a really vulnerable state and make the game a lot more difficult for you. You can actually extend the bar by 1 by collecting 50 film reels. These are scattered throughout the level and some of them are kind of hidden, so go out of your way to just kind of just explore the map a little bit, see if you can find some. In the long run, it's going to help you a lot by being able to stay in slow-mo for a longer period of time. It's great. Performing well in fights, getting enough V points is going to be key to being able to upgrade Joe as quickly as possible and adding more moves to your arsenal. One of my favorite boss fights definitely has to be the last one, King Blue. I mean, you're inside a mech, fighting another giant mech, on top of the world. Like, this screams platinum, does it not? However, after this really cool fight, you have to fight Captain Blue for about the 4th time, and by now you've probably memorized his patterns, and he can be taken down rather easily with the slow-mo and zoom-in ability. Now that he's defeated, it's time to go back and live happily ever after. Not really. You can tell the devs really wanted you to replay this game, as they have tons of unlockables. You can unlock 2 more difficulties. You got V-rated, which is unlocked upon completing adult mode, and then you have Ultra V-rated, which is this game's Dante Must Die difficulty, except it's Joe Must Die, and it's really hard. You're gonna die a lot, not for the faint of heart. Not just that, but there are also a whopping 3 characters you can unlock. You can play as Sylvia when you complete the game on adult mode, Alistair upon completing V-rated mode, and Captain Blue upon completing Ultra V-rated mode. And for the PS2, there's an exclusive character. You can also play as Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Like on the PS2 version, you can play a total of 5 different characters. Each of them have their own unique playstyle to them, their own dialogue, even their own little starting title card. Luckily, for those who don't have much time to play video games, there is a little cheat code I can go on ahead and give you to play as all of these characters. While at the title screen, input the following commands: L1, R1, L1, R1, up, down, left, right, triangle, circle, and you'll hear a little jingle play. And there you go. You can play as all the, you have everything unlocked. You can play all the characters. You can watch the little cheesy movie video song thing. It's cheesy. It's there. They didn't have to put it, but it's there. Let's see. While this video doesn't really go too in depth with it, I kind of wanted to just give you the whole overall feel of what Viewtiful Joe is. I didn't want to go on ahead and spoil too much of it, since this is a game you kind of want to just play for yourself, see if you like the series. Let's see. And the series did go on and get a sequel, a game on the DS, a party game, and an anime. Although I've heard mixed reception when it comes to the anime, the DS game is pretty solid, and the second game I think is an overall improvement in a lot of aspects of the first. The party game is a fun little side game, really. There's not much to it. It's fun if you play it with friends. Playing it alone is kind of bland. But I hope this was enough to kind of give some exposure to Viewtiful Joe. This is one of my personal favorite games, and I think it deserves a lot more recognition. I don't really see many people talking about it, apart from his appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom, which, hell, he didn't even make it to Infinite. It's kind of sad. And there he is. There's Viewtiful Joe next to Maximo in the forgotten pile. I haven't forgotten you. Well, guys, that's gonna be it for me. I'll go on ahead and see you next time, where I'll review whatever I feel like playing, I guess. Stay beautiful.